This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on cabinet decisions. The participants are Shekhar Iyer, political analyst, and AIR correspondent Shantanu Pratap Singh.
Mr. Iyer, Cabinet today has given formal approval to several of the measures announced under the Atmanirbhar Bharat package. And the package is globally probably one of the biggest packages, both in terms of percentage of GDP and total outlay, which is around 20 lakh crores. So one of the decisions is about the allocation of food grains, which is already being done, and Cabinet has given approval, ex post facto approval for that, for food grain allocation to stranded migrants. So how big of an impact would this have during this time?
Cabinet decisions today are in connection with the package of relief measures and stimulus measures that were announced by the finance minister in 5 announcements which was made last week. So we have seen that every sector has been covered in this. So therefore, this particular cabinet decision is actually an ex post facto approval of food grains, because initially the government had announced release of food grains. This is to continue that and also increase the quantity, that is about 5 kg per person for May and June, and which is totally free of cost. So this is a very big decision, because one of the major problems faced by the migrant workers or guest workers, immediate requirement of food for them. Apart from several relief camps and other centers where cooked food has been provided, in addition to that, so all those who have got ration card or even do not have ration card, they will get, that is 5 kg of grains. So this is a very important thing, and this involves almost subsidy of 3,000 crore thing, this one. This involves, interstate transportation and handling charges and other things, which is to be entirely borne by the central government. And this is to help the cause of the migrants.
Food security is probably one of the government's main priorities in this circumstance. Moving on to the other decisions taken in Cabinet, one of the unique aspects of the Atmanirbhar package has been that it has taken COVID-19 as an opportunity for reform. So in that context, we've seen the methodology for auction of coal and lignite mines and blocks for sale of coal being delineated today. It's being done on a revenue sharing basis, so companies are going to bid for a share of the revenue. So how important do you think is transparency in this allocation of coal and lignite mines? Because we are going to get private investment into mining for the first time, and probably putting out the methodology has brought in transparency. How important do you think that is?
We have had a situation in the country that despite huge deposit of coal reserves, their proper utilization or exploitation has not taken place. Ever since Modi government has come in 2014 also, we have seen several steps to see that the full energy and the potential of the coal sector is, unleashed. But given the situation caused by coronavirus, and with this slowdown as well as the condition in which many coal units are facing today, Finance Minister made a very bold announcement that all these coal blocks will no longer be seen as some kind of revenue generation for the government, rather to increase the production of coal, because we have such a huge reserve and many of them untapped. Today, the cabinet has approved a methodology for action of coal and lignite mines, and on a revenue sharing basis. And so this is seen as some kind of paradigm shift. Maximum revenue from coal to making maximum coal. You see, the whole philosophy of the approach of the government has gone changed, so that more core coal is available in the market. Otherwise, we have seen a situation where we are importing coal from countries like Australia and Indonesia, and which has meant, a lot of things going. Now, this methodology is to be done in a very transparent manner, the auctioning, and it allows for adequate competition, so that the market decides the prices based on the cost involved, and it also allows commercial exploitation of coal and other related products like, coal bed methane gas that comes out. Now with this opening up of these blocks, which means you can see a lot of changes will come in terms of investment and exploitation of the coal. And the other thing is, part of the today's decision is the entire revenue from the auction and allotment of coal mines would accrue to the coal-bearing states.
Exactly.
This is a very important thing, because most of the states have been complaining, that they have not been able to get maximum revenue from this. Now, this will enable, rather incentivize the states, for growth and development of the backward areas also, because most of these coal mining areas are in places which are not easily accessible. So this is a very important decision, and one of the beneficiaries will be the Eastern India, which has always been seen as not as developed as other parts of the country.
This is probably going to aid economic recovery in a big way post-COVID-19. Talking about economic recovery further, the government has probably taken all measures possible to aid companies as well post-COVID. So we've seen new special liquidity scheme for NBFCs and housing finance companies. That's also been approved and it was part of the package earlier. So it's taken the monetary aspect as well, so giving a fillip to providing credit and liquidity to firms. So how do you see this measure, the special liquidity scheme for non-banking financial companies and housing finance companies?
We have already seen earlier some relief measures were both announced by the Reserve Bank of India also. These non-banking financial corporations which have been under deep stress because of the slowdown in the economy. This idea is because with the impact of the coronavirus and the lockdown, the government feels this is the right time, where things can be done. This is actually to give more equity for these companies. This is kind of a guarantee for them. So right now the government has kept guarantee of about 30,000 crores, which can be extended also as per the thing. So this is basically approval for a framework which will address all the liquidity issues which NBFC face. Housing finance companies also face. And this will be done through a special purpose vehicle which will manage those stressed assets. And the stressed asset security will be guaranteed by the government. And those securities would be guaranteed by the government and purchased by the RBI only. Proceeds of sale of such securities would be used by the special purpose vehicle to take care of the debts that have burdened these NBFCs and HFCs. This whole scheme will be implemented by the Department of Financial Services, and government would be encouraging, large public sector banks. They would set up this special purpose vehicle, manage the stressed asset management. So this is a very important measure because this was actually announced in the last budget speech of the finance minister. The mechanism would be devised. So today's cabinet decision actually gives effect to that decision for a mechanism, and this will take care of basically through the partial credit guarantee scheme. Actually, if you put it in very plain language, this will actually help the real economy by giving strength to the lending resources of these NBFCs. Because what has happened so far, despite RBI giving some relief to these non-banking financial corporations, they have been stressed because most of their loans have been turning into NPAs. This will give them more resources, these non-banking financial companies, to salvage some of the projects which they have paid. This is a very important thing that will bring some kind of a financial stability and also takes care of the new crisis caused by the COVID-19.
Right. Another step taken for facilitating availability of credit and probably boosting the money supply post-COVID is the 3 lakh crore rupee additional emergency credit line guarantee scheme for MSMEs through Mudra scheme. So we've seen how important MSMEs are both to employment generation and as a bedrock of our economy. How important do you think this would be, and would it have an impact on MSMEs post-COVID-19? Because we've seen issues regarding their payment of wage bills, etc. So this credit probably comes at a very opportune time for them. So how do you see it impacting their functioning, MSME functioning?
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman ji had pointed out in one of our package announcements, these micro, medium, small enterprises are the largest employers. And they have been under stress for a long time because of the slowdown. And post-COVID situation has also created a big crisis for them. And if we have to improve the employment prospects in this country, we will have to strengthen these MSMEs. Particularly the food processing units, micro food processing units, they will get immediate finance to restart their work. This will help them in going for technological changes and innovation that will ensure food quality and other support systems. A lot of these units are rather seen as unorganized. Now, with this infusion of fund, they can become more organized and they can actually transit from an unorganized sector to a formal sector. Another point to be kept in mind, some of these food processing MSMEs, a lot of them are run by women entrepreneurs. So this is, in a way, we are also focusing on that. Part of this scheme, you will appreciate that they are also taking care of, there is a ceiling of 10 lakhs generally for these enterprises, and the benefit will also be given to individual micro units and also to those self-help groups which are run by women for loan to members, both as a working capital as well as small tools. And also there will be grants for, wherever required for linkages, for creating infrastructure, for packaging, marketing and branding, and money will also be provided for wherever skill training is required. This will be done. And you will also notice that this will be where the nodal agency will be the state government, which will actually implement. And the government wants to see that this scheme can be utilized to fill the gaps. So far, no support has been available from any other source, particularly for capital investment and for training and common infrastructure. Now, the government's calculation is nearly 8 lakh micro enterprises, can benefit all these facilities. Out of those 8 lakh, even 2 lakh micro processing units can go for expansion. And above all, the whole idea is that this will cover a large number of those 25 lakh unregistered food processing enterprises. And simultaneously, by bringing in technology, you will see a reduction in waste. And since these are food processing units, they will also create many jobs in the farm sector which are off farm, which are off the field.
Right.
Overall objective which the government has of doubling the farmers' income will also be achieved through this scheme.
Probably an additional advantage with this upgradation through these liquidity and credit facilities and technological upgradation, as you mentioned, these firms would probably get access to global supply chains and then giving effect to the Prime Minister's call of being vocal for local. Now, speaking of the allied sector as well, fisheries in particular, we've seen a new scheme, the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. So it's been brought about to bring blue revolution through sustainable and responsible development of fisheries in India. And estimates have said that it would provide an additional employment of almost 15 lakh people. So this ties in probably to the agricultural income aspect as well. But how do you see this impacting the fishery sector in particular, and would this lead to the blue revolution? Because we've seen in the past governments have been trying to push for it as well, but there are certain specific gaps that remain. Does this scheme address those issues with the fishery sector in India?
Blue revolution is a concept that our Prime Minister has been repeatedly emphasizing in several fora. And it has been talked about in the previous budget, even this year's budget. Now, this is a very concrete measure where to look at fisheries as important as the core agriculture sector. The agriculture sector has been getting attention because of the distress of farmers. But it has been felt that the fisheries potential, we have a vast coastline. There are so many families dependent on fishing. If you take from Bengal down, you go down this, you cover Bengal, Orissa, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Kerala. Come to Karnataka, then you have Goa, then you have Maharashtra, Gujarat. Such a vast coastline and so many people are involved in our fishing. But our fishing activities have been suffering for want of, capital to purchase new boats, to purchase nets, and overall for creation of cold storage facilities to keep the catch and to process that products for export, even for internal consumption. So these are some of the challenges that has been there, and it has engaged our government's attention. Now we are seeing this particular scheme has been approved. So this is going to be a very big thing where we are going to see almost investment of about 20,000 crore. This 20,000 crore, which we will see that center will spend almost more than 9,500 crore for this. States will also come up with some 4,000 and odd crore. The beneficiaries themselves will also pitch in so that there is a involvement, and this is going to be over a period of 5 years. And this will cover everything. Particularly, it will take care of, there will be one central sector component and a state sector component. And thrust will be to see that our fish production goes up and the productivity ratio increases. And then we are able to create infrastructure by way of cold storage, cold storage trucks for transportation and other post-fishing facilities. And the other thing is to have some kind of a regulatory framework and management, because today fisheries, if you see some of the countries which have, earning a lot of money through seafood exports, sector is very organized.
Of course.
So the idea is that government goes for this kind of thing so that we can cover a lot of states and address those very critical gaps. Apart from, fish production, training of these our fishers, fish farmers, because some of them are farmers as well as they do fishing. So this is to take care of both inland and sea fishing. The whole idea is that ultimately we must provide economic security to our people who are involved in this fishing industry, whether they are actual fishers or workers related to the fishing industry. So therefore this is one area which I feel is intended to generate more employment and also guarantee employment. Both the objectives are there in this Prime Minister's Matsya Sampada Yojana. Itself says, the name itself is indicative that this is to effect a blue revolution, sustainable and responsible development.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Iyer.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on cabinet decisions. The participants were Shekhar Iyer, political analyst, and AIR correspondent Shantanu Pratap Singh. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.com. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.